And it's very significant that we are meeting here in Puducherry, a place where that picture was created. And I picked up this little book in the bookshop of the ashram yesterday. And the mother writes here, India is not the earth, rivers and mountains of this land. Neither is it a collective name for the inhabitants of this country. India is a living being, as much living as, say, Shiva. India is a goddess, as Shiva is a god. If she likes, she can manifest in human form. Now, the only issue I have to take up with Mother here is that instead of India, I would like to say Bharat. And that is the purpose of my book. It is meant for young people of this country to take something that we call India now and make it into Bharat. And that map is really Bharatvarsha. It is the extended domain where a certain thought stream exists and has existed for well nigh 5,000 years. Now all this is serious stuff. Now let's take something much lighter and much more familiar. We're not very far from lunchtime. And so I want to talk about something which we eat. Now, the question I'm going to ask you is, which of these following mangoes is your favorite mango? Now, you're going to say, oh no, he's again asking the silly question, which everyone starts asking in February or March. And then everybody starts shouting and starts getting angry with each other. But anyway, I'm going to mention 4 mangoes, which are very popular in the 4 states I have lived in 65 of my 70 years. The other 5 years, of course, I lived in Kalapani, which is USA. So let's not talk about those 5 years. 65 years we'll talk. So first one I'm going to say is Neelam. Second one is Apus. Third one is Banganpalli. And fourth is Malgova. So you can decide which of the 4 big cities of India, south of the Vindhyas, I have lived in these last 65 years. Now, this is what I would call a sort of first order kind of an argument. But then, this is not enough. There are many people here who have lived in these places and will mention some other mango. You will not choose these things at all. So the question then which arises is, what is a mango? What is a mango? Mango is something, it's a fruit. I think, are we in agreement about that? It's a fruit? Yes or no? Because I'm going to come back and get to you with this. If you say yes, I'm going to question you later. Is it a fruit? I would say it's nice. Would you agree with that? It's nice? Very nice, very nice. I would say it is yellow. Yellow. Yellow? Green, yellow. Okay. Then I'm going to say it's sweet. Sweet. No, yes. See, lot of discussion already on what a mango is. Then I'm going to say that it's something we cut and then eat. Not necessarily not. So there's some problems here with this definition. What is a mango? So I thought it was a nice simple definition. A fruit which is nice, yellow, sweet, cut, eat. Already there seems to be a lot of, it's like Rajya Sabha or something. Not good. Now, first order is these 4 mangoes. Now, second order, the last of these 4 cities where I've lived. I've said Malgova. But you go to any common fruit shop in Bangalore, you will get a variety called Raspuri. Now, for those of you who have lived in Bangalore, you will realize that Raspuri, it's actually, I like it better than Malgova, by the way. But the thing about the Raspuri is, rather than the taste, it is the smell of that Raspuri which is very interesting. So in this definition which I have given, the smell is not there. How does a mango smell? And then we'll go to what we call third order perturbation. Now you take this kilimukku, which is here in this part. Take the raw kilimukku. Now it's cut nicely and they put salt and chili powder and you eat it on the beach. Now this is not sweet, but it's nice. Okay? So what do you say? You can cut it, not sweet. Then you go to East Godavari district, you will get something called cheruku rasam. Now that you can't cut. It's only pulp inside. It's yellow, very sweet. You can't cut. Problem. Then we go to fourth order. What about this vadumanga? Now I know some of you are thinking about vadumanga and thair sadam. You are thinking about lunch already. Isn't it? So, what happens with this vadumanga? It is that same kilimukku which is taken when it is raw. I think they call it totapuri in other parts of the country. Same thing. So they take it and then they pickle it in brine. It's still a mango, no? No doubt that it's a mango, I hope. No. So, that is the fourth order. Then fifth order, this is a difficult one. What about manga inji? Question. Big question. Now, botanically, it's not a mango and it is not ginger. It's more like turmeric. But it's yellow. You cut it, it's quite yellow. There is a definite mango feel and taste. So, is it a mango or it's not? Then finally, is there anyone here who has lived any sixth order perturbation? Now, this becomes delusionary. Anybody here who has lived in Hyderabad for any length of time? Because I've lived there 30 years. 1 month. Until you live in Hyderabad for 10 years, you don't understand that place. Now there is a fruit there, it's sold as Benishan. Now Benishan, if you look at Google, it says it's the same as Banganpalli. And we have lots of debates on whether Benishan and Banganpalli are the same or not. It's a small version of Banganpalli and the taste is somewhat sharper. People say I'm nuts when I say that these two are different. It's kind of imaginary, the difference between Benishan and Banganpalli. So you see, so this whole idea of what a mango is, shall we then define a term called mango-ness? Mango-ness. What is mango-ness? Does it cover all these varieties that I've talked about so far? So the definition is not very proper. We can't give a proper definition, but we all know what mango-ness is. And then suddenly I'm going to put a foreign word in all this nice discussion of mangoes. That is apple. Looks like a very foreign word, no? Suddenly, with due apologies to people in Himachal and Kashmir. But this apple-ness is different from mango-ness, which is also different from banana-ness. So the problem with definitions, you know, in my chemistry career, I've dealt with nomenclature all the time and got involved in many disputes regarding nomenclature. So I'll tell you, with this mango-ness, I'm going to just ask a small additional question. What is Hindu? It's called Hindutva. That is the definition of Hindutva. So just like this India is one, Bharat is like a big mango with all these things and places. Manga inji actually is eaten more in Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia than it is eaten in India. That's why that map of the mother and all that is quite realistic. So this idea of Bharat is something which is inextricably linked with Sanatana Dharma. And it covers a whole landmass between Kandahar and Mandalay. A few months ago, I was participating in a Twitter Spaces where there were people from Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh. People were talking. It was a very good-natured discussion. And people were saying these 4 countries are the same. And finally, somebody from Pakistan said, forget it. He said, Hawa ek hi hai. It is this Hawa which we are talking about. This Hawa is like mango-ness. You can't define it. So any attempts to define Hindutva and so on, I don't think Mr. Aravindan is here. Is he here anywhere in the audience? No, he's not. But I was really, really enthused when in his very handsome review of my book, which is available there, it is the third printing of my book, and all the reviews have been put there. So you can read Aravindan's review there. He said, I was really overwhelmed when I saw his comment. He said, after Savarkar, I have given the crispest definition of Hindutva. And he was writing a big book on Hindutva, which he's going to talk about this afternoon. For somebody like him to say something like this, I said, I seem to have struck a right chord somewhere with Mr. Aravindan. So you see, this is what Bharat is all about. So where Bharat begins, where it ends, where Sanatana Dharma begins, it's all the same thing. And it is this idea, I think, that I have tried to capture in my book. And I'm not going to tell you too much about the book. For that, you'll have to buy it and read it. It's the philosophy, the thinking stream that I went through as a professor of chemistry. I'm told I'm quite a big professor of chemistry, that I don't know. But what kind of thought stream does a scientist go through and to analyze this? So the early part, the first half of the book has to do with the Constitution. Mostly it has to do with the constitutional history of India 50 years before independence. So that's the chapter 1. So you read that. Chapter 2 is the Constitution itself, how and why it got written the way it got written. The fact that these people who wrote the Constitution were all well-meaning people. They were not tukde gang. No. None of them were. And to summarize, there are 7 points, where they spent the maximum time discussing. These may not be big things, but these were the maximum time that they spent. First point, that there's no mention of God in the Constitution. No. Second, there is no mention of Sanatana Dharma and that it is the warp and woof of this country. No mention. Nothing. The third is that the difference between the socially deprived classes of this country and the socially advantaged was too much at the time of independence, and somehow we had to do something about bridging this gap. The fourth, the uneasy relationship between the union government and the state governments. The fact that there is a need to balance a strong center with self-respecting states. The fifth, this was the most amusing and longest discussion. What if any should be the national language? And even more lengthy, by the way, was whether we should use Arabic numerals or Devanagari numerals. So this was very, very lengthy, silly discussion. And a fellow from Mysore actually started reeling off the names of the chemical elements in Kannada. All sorts of things, funny things I read in those debates. The sixth one, again, let's think about what happened 3 or 4 days ago, whether there should be a Rajya Sabha or not. And by the way, most of the members did not want an upper house. And it was some kind of an illusion of House of Lords or something. That seemed to finally, it was very unconvincing. Those who were opposing the upper house gave a better account of themselves than those who supported the upper house. And finally, the last of the 7 points was, is our constitution a cut and paste effort or is it something original? So these were, I'm just enumerating. But in the end, there were 3 fault lines which I could make out of all this. First is, are both Hindus and Muslims equally comfortable and happy with this country as it is today? My answer is, both groups are not happy. Hindus feel that the state is going against them. The Muslims feel either patronized or they feel that the state is bluffing and secretly it wants to go and kill all of them. So neither group is happy. Second, with upper caste, other castes. Do either group feel happy? No. Upper caste feels that they have nowhere to go, they will run away to America, Bulgaria, Moldavia, any country they will go. Those who are not upper caste feel somehow that they are getting patronized once again. So they feel again, once again, the whole thing is a kind of a bluff. And even if they get all these advantages, jobs, medical college seats and all that, they are going to be still looked down upon. So that's not gone. Third, the center state. Center feels that the states are an unnecessary nuisance, troubling them all the time. The states, on the other hand, feel that they have to go with a beggar bowl to the center who is going to dole out small sums of money, if they dole out anything at all. So nobody is happy in the present situation, in these three fault lines. So this then leads, as a scientist I'll say, there must be something wrong with the original document, which is the blueprint for the way in which this country is run. Because at the end of 75 years, if nobody is particularly happy, we are not very unhappy, let me put it that, but we are not exuberantly happy. And unless all the people of the country are exuberantly happy, it will not have that extra X factor that will make it a world power. Every country that became a world power, everybody in that country felt that they were part of the effort. This is simply not there. Now, this is about the book itself. And let me summarize by saying, and then this will also cover chapter 3, which again you will have to buy the book and read, that this is a constitution that is meant for a nation state. And we are not a nation state. We are a civilizational state. So chapter 3 will tell you what a nation state is all about. And for that, you must look seriously at European history. Because that is where the origins of the nation state come, the 30 Years' War and the Treaty of Westphalia, Metternich, the Congress of 1815, and World War I. In my opinion, World War I is far, far, far more important than World War II in deciding the fate of the world and what happened. So that will give you of the first 3 chapters. Now coming back to this mango business, you see I'm still thinking about mangoes. This whole thing about mango defines this whole concept of what is called diversity. We are a very diverse country. It is our strongest point. Any country which became very powerful and became important stressed only its strongest point. It suppressed all the weaker points. We have a particularly masochistic instinct of stressing our weakest points. Muslim, Hindu, Hindu, Muslim, all the time. Owaisi, somebody else, that Yati fellow, Narsinganand or something his name. Then upper caste, lower caste. All the time. Nothing else. Brahminical patriarchy, all these sorts of things. Then center state, Mamata, Stalin, Sharad Pawar. We should not spend so much time discussing all these characters. They are all victims of the present situation. They are not the causes of anything. So this is what generally seems to be going on at the present time. And so diversity, in fact, I will go even one step further. Because we were always diverse, I think even the original statements of Sanatana Dharma, the Vedas and all, were written in that way. They are written in a way which optimizes diversity. The whole idea of Purushartha. The fact that there are many different approaches, there may be many goals that different kinds of people have in life. Everybody in this country doesn't want to get into IIT-G and then go to IIM, Ahmedabad. No, that's wrong. And the more and more we start thinking on those lines, because I've seen all these IITs, that's part and parcel of my mainline profession. IIT-G and IIM Ahmedabad are not the answer for everybody. Different people want to do different things, and they should be allowed to do different things. That is the meaning of diversity. Optimization of diversity means what? It is because of diversity that we have Sanatana Dharma in the present form that it is. I'll say that. It is not that Sanatan Dharma has led to diversity. We are always diverse. We love diversity. All these mangoes. You can go and have lots of debates and discussions on what is this character, Professor Desraju, talking. And one of you will produce a new kind of mango that I have not thought of, which even goes beyond Manga Inji and Benishan. So we love this. So this is a way, diversity, when you start optimizing diversity, I think that's when we will see a new India, we will see Bharat. Now, Ajit, if I could have this slide. You may be wondering what's behind this. Now you'll see. This one. Wait. Yeah, this one. Can you bring it a bit to the front, maybe? Yeah, thanks so much. See, these strange looking pictures exist in the book. So you buy the book, you'll see these pictures. You can take it back and look at it. Now, what is the chemistry professor showing, pictures like this in something serious, Bharat, India, civilizational, Vedas, Dakshinamurti? What has this got to do with any of this stuff? Now see, this is Bharat, okay? The last picture here. This beautiful picture from Kashmir. And that shows the diversity of Bharat. You've got clouds. Yeah, Maria, you can come a little bit in the front and see. You've got clouds, you've got mountains, you've got clouds, you've got a meadow, you've got flowers. So many things in one picture. That is the beauty and diversity of Bharat. Now, there is an impressionist technique called pointillism, which was popularized in the late 19th century by a chap called Seurat and helped by his assistant Signac, Paul Signac, and Seurat. What they did was they said, there's a beautiful picture which I've seen many times in the Art Institute of Chicago, which is called Dimanche après midi. And actually it is now Dimanche après midi actually. A curious coincidence. So Dimanche après midi, all these Parisians were going to a little island outside Paris. So you see the women with their parasols. It's a picture that is this huge. And it is the high point of the Art Institute Chicago. Many, many, many times have I seen that picture. And if you go near the picture and have a look at it, you see lots of colored dots. You don't see colors. Normally when you think of a painting, you'll think of people painting with some colors, no? No, it's got little colored dots of absolutely obscure colors. The whole idea in pointillism is that there is a perception of color as you go away from a picture, which doesn't depend on the colors that have been used, but the colors of little dots and the way in which they are put together. Now, there are very nice commercial software, simple to use, where you can take any picture you want and make a pointillist image out of it, which is what I've done. Now, these are the sizes of the colored dots. So you can see this is India with 28 states. So this could be Tamil Nadu, that could be Kashmir. Could be anything. But you can see the diversity of the country based on the differences in colors. But then see something very funny happens. Actually, in the book, you will see Seurat's original picture of Dimanche après midi. Then you will understand exactly what is happening. There is a certain stretch where there's a gray kind of a gravel or something. The gray actually is not painted gray. It is painted orange, white, blue, so many colors are there, which give an impression of gray when you hold the picture away from you. So there is an impression like mango-ness. There is an impression of the whole thing based on diversity. And I can take the same software. Very simple to use this software. Huh? It's not at all difficult. Even I could do it. Now, make the dots smaller and then you'll see the colors. The colors here roughly match the colors here, but not exactly. Not exactly. Like there's a red over here, that red seems to have vanished somehow. You'll be asking why. Then this is India with about 40 to 50 states. The diversity is there, but you don't see the whole picture. The whole picture, the beauty of Bharat is not seen. And then suddenly you come to 75 states, and lo and presto, you can make out the outlines of the picture. So what was not visible here and here suddenly comes out here. Now I can start increasing the number of dots, you see. But all this is unnecessary, this and this. This is like those delusionary things, Benishan and Banganpalli. Nothing. It's actually nonsense. And in fact, this is something like, say, some 300 states, 750 states. Actually, Gandhi wanted 750 states. Yeah, he did. This is one of the other things he did. In 1946, something called the Gandhian Constitution was written by a chap called Sriman Narayan Agarwal. But if you read Gandhi's preface to that constitution, it is clear that he wrote every single word of it. So he wanted 750 states. Can you imagine? I mean, okay, 28 I have said is too small, but I mean 750. Then I will say that Hotel Atithi should be one state and Hotel Residency should be another state and so on. So I mean, there's got to be a limit to all this. So the whole idea here is that there is an optimum number of states. Now, what is this optimum number? Optimum number, actually I was in collaboration with a guy in the UK, an Indian, to get an analytical explanation for 75, which is, all this is given in chapter 4, which is the crux of the book. Because as a scientist, I am not happy with just stating a problem. Chapters 1 and 2 sort of state the problem, and chapter 3, civilizational, some explanation, going round and round and round. But scientists want solutions. They may be wrong solutions, but we want a solution. The reason why we want a solution is, it's up to somebody else to suggest a better solution. But we are always looking. No point looking at the past here. Some Muslims did this, Christians did that. What were we doing? Sitting and allowing all these guys to do all these things for so many years. See, if our thing was so nice and everything so great, we discovered everything. There was one language in India that appeared even before the universe. Not far away from this union territory. So we are very great, no? Yeah, we are very great. Then why did we allow all these things to happen? Kya hua hum logon ko? No point thinking about the past all the time. Take the past, try to get some ideas about what happened, and notice how horrible we are doing at the present at Rajya Sabha. This is not good. It's not good under any circumstance. There's no point, this is what, we're all thinking people, we are not some dummies. I mean, was it okay? Did you feel good? Did any of you feel good? We have an elected Prime Minister of this country sitting in Parliament and saying something serious. I don't care if it is Modi or XYZ, anybody. This is elected Prime Minister of the country. He's standing there and making a long speech, motion of thanks, address, budget and all that. People are shouting non-stop and not letting him speak. Is this okay? I don't think it is something to laugh about. Theek nahi hai to theek nahi hai. See, I think we should not hesitate to say it and speak up. Such being the case, I think there is a reason why we need these 75 states, and Ajit, if you can then come and bring that and put it over here. Those of you who have not seen the book, this is also there in the book. These are the 75 states. This is my conception of the 75 states of Bharat. And this is not based on an analytical model. Professor Desiraju didn't come out with this just from the top of his head. I have used geographical, historical, social, cultural, strategic, so many viewpoints. And at the end of the day, if all these viewpoints do not satisfy, there is a sheer administrative convenience of having smaller states. This has been spoken about from the time of the 1956 Panikar Commission on States Reorganization. So chapter 4 then goes through these 75 states and gives a rationale and justification for forming these states. And the most important thing, of course, I have explained to you here, is that diversity. This optimizes diversity. It is 75 is a sufficient number to show the true picture of Bharat. Okay? And it is not unnecessarily large like these things. Anything less than 75 will not do. Anything more than 75 is unnecessary. 75 means, scientists we are, plus minus we will say. Plus minus 5, plus minus 10%. Scientists never like the words like always, never. We don't use those words. And we have a wonderful word which we always use, generally. The most favorite word of scientists. You know, generally speaking, it's about 75, okay? That's the idea. Now, let's look at some of these states. And funny thing happened when I first trickled out a bit of news about this book on June 16th last year. It was in a nice function in Delhi from Atharva Forum. And I was one of 4 speakers, and the speaker who was asked to summarize the talks of the other 3, one of the other speakers, Bhavesh Kansara, is here in the audience. And the 4th speaker who summarized the views of the other 3 was Professor Murli Manohar Joshi, and whom, of course, we were very honored that he was there to summarize. And then I told him, I announced the book, and I said, Professor Joshi, I've known him for many years as an academic rather than as a politician. So I said, look at my first 2 states. If you buy the book, again, buy the book first. Then I'll sign it and write your name and everything nicely. Okay, so my state number 1 is Gilgit, and my state number 2 is Baltistan. And Professor Joshi, he threw his head back in laughter, and he was really, really happy to see that. So you can see I'm quite good at predicting. I wrote this around August of 2021. Long before all these things are happening in our favorite country, our western neighbor, whatever you want to call it. I don't think it's a country at all anyway. Chalo, but that's another point for some other discussion. So, now all my friends, they kid me and they tell me, how's your MFC doing? The MFC means my favorite country. So I wrote about Gilgit and Baltistan because, and I justify that also. And the fact that they are all part of this thing, you know. Sumeru Mountains. What is the Sumeru Mountains? It's all here, no? It's there, Mount Meru. It's there. It's all written down. They can be Shias, they can be Sunnis, they can be anything. They are all part of Bharatvarsha. They're not different at all. And in fact, I've made a prediction that we don't have to go anywhere with armies and all to take over those places. They themselves will come to us. I'm completely convinced. And I've argued that also. Reasonable European commentators have said when there is a powerful civilizational state growing, small things in the peripheries will like to join them simply for their economic benefit. Nothing else. Ye religion, to sab, it's not very important. We only resort to that when we are poor. Let the economy of this country become, you know, whatever they're saying, 5 trillion, 6 trillion, 10 trillion. When all that happens, all this garbage that we see around us is okay. Now, finally, the economic justification for this. This is the last point. Apart from all the civilizational things and other things that I've been talking about, now I give an example of what I call my 4Ks. K. First K is Kashmir, just the valley. Just the valley. Second K is Kutch, this side. Third is Kongu, the region around Kovai. And the fourth is Kashi. So in the 4 directions, Kashmir, Kutch, Kongu, Kashi. Now, I don't know how many of you have visited the valley, but I have gone there many times in the course of my work, because we have some important national labs and all that there. And I have traveled quite a bit in the valley, including areas near LOC and all that. Now, Kashmir, the valley itself, 2 flowering plants grow there in abundance. One is lavender and one is rose. Lavender, actually, it grows wild and doesn't require water also. This lavender and rose are very valuable plants, because from that you can extract something called lavender oil and rose oil. Now, there is a small country in southeastern Europe called Bulgaria, whose entire economy is based on lavender oil and rose oil. They're doing something in Kashmir, but it is like some jugaad operation. You know, it's very wasteful, and the lavender oil and the rose oil they produce are of very low quality. It cannot compete with the Bulgarian product in the world market. Now, suppose you had a small state called Kashmir. By the way, another justification for this is each of these 75 states roughly has 2 crore population. So the populations of everything, so administrative convenience is very high. Suppose you have this small Kashmir state. Now, don't start telling me all the fellows there will be Muslims, they will want to go away to Pakistan. No, they don't want to go. I can tell you that. Nobody wants to go. Everybody knows that India is a nice country, it's a powerful country. Nobody wants to go. Let me assure you. No, ita hoega, they all will do something, Mecca, Medina. No, nothing like that will happen. Absolutely not. I'm telling you. I've heard a lot of thing from North Indian side that there is no such thing as a moderate Muslim and stuff like that. We must start getting out of these mentalities. Got to look forward, got to look positive. Again and again, you can't go back to Muhammad Ghazni, Muhammad Ghor and all those fellows. Can't do it. Can't afford to. We have no time. This is a country in a hurry. You sit with all that nonsense, you will never go anywhere. Now, you do that lavender and rose oil properly. Kashmir state, that small one, will become economically more powerful than Bulgaria. One small part of our country can become more important than a whole country in Europe. Take Kutch. What do we know about Kutch? Hardly anybody lives there. It's a very big area. It's got only sunshine and nothing else. So what's the immediate thing that should come to your mind? Solar energy. Today, the leader of solar energy is Israel, which is very small in area compared to Kutch. Kutch, if properly developed, so just like only the agriculture ministry of this one should be important, only the non-conventional energy ministry of Kutch should be important. All the others don't count. So just stress the solar energy part. This will give electricity to this whole country and to many other countries in the world. So you see, by having these small states and concentrating niche areas, you can get economically strong states. Now it's only a matter of detail. You come to Kongu. When you say Kovai, you think of Tirupur. You think of the fabric, the garment industry. For people in Kovai, for this respect, Chennai is too far away. It is some distant place. For people in Srinagar, Jammu is very far away. For people in Bhuj, Ahmedabad is very far away. They won't understand. That is the local thing, the diversity. All those strange mangoes that I have described, no, same thing comes again and again. They're all very different and yet part of the same thing. So you will, just this Congo thing will beat the whole of Bangladesh in this fabric and textiles. And finally, Kashi. Kashi we have got, I have taken Kashi actually as parts of eastern UP and parts of western Bihar. So the area near Araria, that is the Shaivite part, Kashi was originally a Buddhist center. So I have put all those areas. You see, there you have got in Kashi, you've got Buddhism, you've got Sanatana Dharma, and you've got Islam. You've got all the three religions. Make it like a huge Vatican City, I say. We go there to Vatican City paying lots of euros just to see some old relics and all that. Make this the tourism capital, this Kashi of the whole world. It's bigger than Jerusalem. You don't tie this Kashi to all these other funny places in UP. You've got your own thing there. So what happens is you get 75 very strong economic powerhouses. And in the meantime, you're going to get a very big bonus. See, finally in a good federation, and let me tell you, I have described it carefully in the book, in 50 years of coalition government, what we have had, people glorify the coalition governments, especially the opposition. That was not federalism. That was federalism at gunpoint. There were so many itty-bitty fellows who were just coming together to get 272 seats in that bloody Lok Sabha. So they didn't care what they did as long as they got 272, that's all. 272. As that lady said also, 272, she said. I think some of you know whom I'm talking about. So, 272, see, can't run a whole country with just one 272 number in your head. So what have they done? When Jayalalitha went there and said, I want 69% reservation, this, what was that thing, that ninth schedule, where all the things were put there which cannot be subject to judicial review after that. That is not federalism. Somebody is saying they're going to bring the government down if you don't do what I'm telling you to do. That is not federalism at all. And that's the next thing that has happened is, since now one party has got a majority in the Lok Sabha, these other guys are howling. See, they should know one thing, that if you want to have the first past the post system in a parliamentary democracy, then if one party gets a majority, then it's going to be a majoritarianism government. It cannot be a consensus government anymore. Everything will not, no need to go to some parliamentary committee. There's no debate, nothing. They've got a majority, that's it. When will the opposition realize that it is must be a majoritarianism? Otherwise, what's the point of getting that 272? All they want is those coalitions that they can go on doing whatever they like. That's all that they want. Fine. I mean, we must call a spade a spade. And so what happens is that in this present scenario, the states will become economically strong. The center will be politically strong. What we are having today is states are politically strong and center is economically strong. Center doesn't need money. The states need money because all our daily lives, so many common things which we do every day from morning to night, it is the responsibility of the state government. I worked in a university called Hyderabad Central University, now called Rohit Vemula University. You know, there was no need for that university. Why not strengthen Osmania? Do you need IIT Madras? Why don't you strengthen University of Madras? Do you need NCL in Pune? Why not strengthen Pune University? Universities anywhere in the world are meant for this purpose. The center does not have to come and start opening IITs, ISERs, all these things. Simply because they feel the states can't. State has to give you education, state has to give you health, state has to give you roads, state has to give you all those things. And the state has to make its own money to do all this. When you have politically powerful states, you will get the likes of Mamata, Stalin, Sharad Pawar, all these characters. Center only should be politically strong, because tomorrow if my favorite country and the other one there, that side, the China, if they all start doing some funny things, center has to have a clear idea. We heard something about these Khalistanis just now. So center only should be able to do all that. So, when a combination of a politically strong center and economically strong states, plus optimizing diversity, which is our big natural strength, that is what is described in chapter 4. Finally, the last chapter, Gloria, another 5 minutes? Oh, very nice. 10 minutes is like Pacific Ocean. So, the last chapter actually is a bit introspective, and it's entitled Quo Vadis, Where Do We Go? And it talks about this whole beautiful thing called Bharatvarsha as a complex system. And I talk about the difference between what is complex and what is complicated. These two terms mean something entirely different in sciences, social sciences, humanities, everywhere. And it is best explained with two familiar analogies which we all come across. Like suppose we have 4 or 5 roads which meet at a circle, each of them with traffic lights. This is very common in Bangalore. And because of the old circles that the Maharajas put up in various places, so you have many roads reaching these circles. So you have 5, 6, even in some places, big circles. So any car that comes there on an average is stationary. Suppose there are 5 roads. For 80% of the time, any car that comes there is stationary. So only for 20% of the time, that particular car is allowed to move because everything else is waiting. Now, suppose some traffic light, something in that whole thing breaks down, which happens very often in Bangalore. Then there is utter chaos. Nothing moves, everybody, might is right then. You know, Matsya Nyaya goes on over there. Everybody does whatever they like. Whole thing becomes a mess. That is a complicated system. When a complicated system can break down if any one of the parts breaks down. And the only way of solving the problems of a complicated system is to put in redundancies. So in my lab, for example, I have several postdocs. Somebody will be falling sick, somebody will have a family commitment, somebody will not be able to come to the lab, something that will happen. So what do? I hire more than one postdoc to do the same job, so that even if one goes away, the other fellow will start doing the job. The biggest, India was a complicated system. If you read the works of Vivekananda around 1900, when he bemoans the fate of India in 1900, and we heard earlier a talk which talks about the Renaissance, the revolutionary movement, a number of things happened. The first Indian Renaissance happened in Bengal, Bombay and Madras around 1900. So at that time, people started coming out of this. It was a complicated system which had broken down completely. And then came a huge blow, and that was partition. The thread of partition runs throughout my book. You cannot read my book without being aware of partition throughout that book. Because it has lost, our civilization has lost sacred geographical space. Dhara, the earth. We talked about Ma Durga. In the Lalita Sahasranamam towards the end, some magnificent names come out at the end. Dhara, Dharasuta, Dhanya, Dharmini, Dharmavardhini, Lokatita, Gunatita, Sarmatita, Shamatni, Bandhuka Kusuma Prakya, Bala Leela. Dhara, she is the earth. Dharmini, she is the embodiment of Dharma. Dharma and land go together. And when we lost the Indus plains, we lost a part of ourselves. An integral part of being a Bharatiya was lost forever, or we don't know. Maybe they'll come back now. Maybe they will. Or maybe we'll have another problem, how to prevent them from coming in. I don't know. I'm not a politician, so I can afford to talk. So, this Dhara, the sacred space which was gone, I think that is coming back in chapter 5, where I talk about other countries. This is a civilizational state. I talk about other republics. I talk about France, Germany and China. And since I'm in Puducherry, let's talk a little bit about France. Little. It is a perfect nation state. Absolutely. I'll finish in 4 minutes, 59 seconds. So, I'll talk about France. The revolution, 1787 or whatever. And then they sort of went through. That was the first republic. Then there was Napoleon who came in. And throughout all his things, while he was still alive, the next thing that happened was the Congress of Vienna in 1815, which was the first concrete attempt to define a nation state. And this first republic went on in some strange way. There was a restoration of the monarchy. And this went on till 1848, when the second republic started. And this too went on. There was a monarchy, good and proper then. And this went on, I think, till 1871 or something, when the Third Republic started. The monarchy was finally removed. And the Third Republic, then the Fourth and the Fifth were only variations of the Third. But that is a perfect example of a nation state, France. Because language, literature, culture, diet, the habits, the behavior of the people, the political boundaries, everything is perfectly contiguous. Very few people speak French outside France, maybe a little bit in Belgium and Europe. And therefore, when the French got their colonies, like Pondicherry, they treated them very different from the way the Brits treated British India. All these places, like the ones we are standing in today, became parts of metropolitan France. It was not the way in which the British treated British India at all. There they separated the Indians from the Brits. Here I am told there are still 1,000 people who are French citizens and vote in the French elections. French is spoken here. No distinction was made between places like Pondicherry, Cameroon, Algeria and all that. For all intents and purposes, they were France. That is a nation state. It's a perfect example of a nation state. And in chapter 5, I say that these three great republics, France, Germany, China, they all needed about 100 years to settle themselves properly. The US was the only one that got it right at the first shot. And there's a very interesting reason why US got it right and France got it wrong. This is important for us in India today. When the American Revolution happened, anybody who was a friend of the British and the old order were ruthlessly removed. They had nothing to do with what happened in America. In France, however, when the Republic came, gradually the monarchists and all these people started coming in the period 1787 to 1848. They were not so ruthless in removing the ancien regime. And as a result, their progress towards a proper republic was that much delayed. Tomorrow there is already a Bharatiya revolution. We are all part of it. To quote Dean Acheson, we are all present at the recreation. This is the second renaissance that's happening. The first one was 1900. This is the second one which is happening. We are all part of the renaissance. So feel happy. Don't feel sad. We are part of this. This is what you have to tell the youngsters. And we should do what the Americans did and what the French did not do. No member of that old order should be allowed to come in anywhere. Allowed. Don't start giving me all that crap about sab ek hi hai, sab se paas jana, every should go together, we should all do it together, India is great. India is great. Bharat is great. Nobody is denying. Don't go for bringing, you can never take everybody along. Never. Not in a free society, which we always want to be. So in this kind of a situation, anybody who is even vaguely looking as if they are supporting, and so many fence sitters, this way, that way, this way, all these people should be removed outright. Please follow the Americans and don't follow the French in this regard. So with that, I think I stop. I think, I don't know, a few more seconds. My timekeeper? 1-0. Thank you so much. Vanakkam, namaskar.